and then just move.
Yeah.
We talk about this so much on this podcast, and I can't drive it home enough that being stagnant will destroy you in every aspect. If you sit and do nothing, you're going to get that very thing, nothing.
Success in business means nothing.
If you're losing in other areas of your life,
It's time to stop just building wealth.
and start leading with conviction. I'm Jake Tracy.
I'm Sean Skyver, and this is the blueprint for the modern man, mastering real estate, scaling business.
And honoring God and family through courageous stewardship.
Let's get to work. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Courageous Stewards podcast. We got a fun episode today. We're going to dive in a little bit to decision-making, the pressures that come with it, and making sure you maintain a foundation built on faith and discernment and guidance in your journey when you face those decisions. So we're just glad you guys are here. We're glad you're tuning in today. We're looking at maybe a moment when pressure forced a tough decision. How did you handle it? How can you handle it? So today we're talking about how faith doesn't necessarily remove that pressure, but it's going to reshape how we respond to it. So we're going to jump into just what pressure does to the mind.
Pressure's a trigger, really. It creates this idea in your mind of almost like a fear of failure. You know, when you're constantly under pressure, you have this thing in the back of your mind that if I make the wrong decision, that I'm going to fail. And you almost forget that the entirety of your life is about decision making. Some of them are under pressure, and some of them are very easy to make. But if you can get this idea that using faith as your guide and stepping back, giving yourself some opportunity to reflect on the situation for a short amount of time, and then trusting that God has his best interest in mind through you. And if you'll allow him to guide you, then you kind of lose that pressure or that concern. It's almost like, okay, yeah, if I'm walking through this life with a desire to pursue the ultimate goal that God has for my life, then it really takes the pressure off of your decision making, I guess. That's kind of how I look at it in my own life, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think coming from a posture of calling brings clarity to a decision.
There you go.
So when you operate from a calling, it comes with clarity. I think sometimes, like when you are faced with a pressure-based decision, the issue with the pressure-based decision, sometimes they're fast, and it feels like you're surrounded. If you remember the Jurassic Park movie, I'm dating myself here, but it was the scene where he's in the woods and he's got that shotgun with a folding stock and the raptors come at him from the sides. And he's like, clever girl, he's surrounded. So it's fight or flight. And that's how most of us operate on these decisions that maybe come on our plate quickly and create pressure. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that way for 99% of our decisions. You really can just go assess the situation, take a breath, let that emotional trigger response, because it's passing through that emotional part of your brain first, of fight or flight, let it get up to the front of your brain where there's cognitive reasoning, logic, and go, okay, the best decision here is this. And like you said, pray, ask for guidance, ask for discernment, make sure it's on a foundation of faith, because whether that thing works out or doesn't work out, God has to be at the center of it, because then there's something there that you're either being shown or there's a blessing on the other side.
Yeah, pressure can be almost like an emotional overload if you'll allow it to be. But on the flip side of that, you can use faith as a stabilizer to bring you back to what becomes your reality. A lot of people will not allow faith to help them to make their decisions. On the contrary, they feel the need to control every aspect through their own mind, through their own understanding, rather than use faith as a stabilizer to recognize that it all belongs to him anyway. Yeah. And so it's more important to pause and make a decision based on faith rather than what you believe is the best decision for you and your family and your future. I mean, the Lord's given us the ability to reason and make wise decisions, but the wisest decision in my mind is to allow him to speak to me about a specific situation and not think that I just have to make the decision on my own because it's presented in front of me.
And so it's so funny because most of us, myself included, we have a desire, just like you were saying a minute ago, we want control. The problem is we desire control over the outcome. Mm-hmm. We have no bearing in the outcome. We never did. We think we do, but we don't. So our desire to control the outcome is a fallacy. You're going to trick yourself and you're going to frustrate yourself every time. The best way to manage and to use control, or the thing you do have control over, is yourself, your emotions, and how you respond to whatever the decision is, whatever the outcome is. And you were talking about just faith and letting God guide it. So Proverbs 16:32 reminds us that it's better to be patient than powerful, and better to have self-control than to conquer a city. Like, there's a lot there. Like, that's heavy, and you've got to really meditate on that, because self-control is so hard to do on an emotional, pressure-based decision. Because our thing is emotional response, right? Or reaction, actually. I should use the word reaction. Because response has more to do with taking time, thinking it through, and responding to it.
So how can we use faith as a stabilizer when decisions are in front of us, when we're facing complicated situations and we have to make hard decisions? What are some stabilizers through faith that we can use to make those decisions wise, maybe more guided through his eyes rather than ours?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and we've talked about it in regards to who we work with. Like when you think about in business, right? It's who is that person? Well, that's identity. So the first thing we do is, just like you've been saying this whole episode, is like, I need to go to God first, and He knows He's given me my identity. Go back to that. Go back to the roots of how God created you and what He created you for.
Yeah, so number one's identity.
Your identity. You've got to go back to Him for that. And then your values. This is internal. This is something you know. What do you stand for? What is your character? What is important to you? And what do you expect out of others? I think a lot of times. We're so quick to tell everybody else how to change or what they need to do. It's like, well, what are you doing and how are you reflecting?
Right.
And then guidance. You're going to need some direction and some guidance. And that's discernment. And that's where you go to God with the actual prayer, the request, the heaviness, the decision. God, I found myself in a situation. Maybe there's an opportunity and you're like, I don't know if this is the right thing, if I should go into this. Just ask Him for His guidance. So really those stabilizers in regards to that decision that needs to be made comes down to having a relationship with God and asking Him for the identity that He has in you, your values, and then His guidance. And that's going to bring so much peace to the decision, because it isn't something you tried to figure out on your own.
Yeah.
You go, God talked to me, spoke to me, and gave me that.
Absolutely. And I feel two of these are almost prerequisites, whereas the third, guidance, is something that's kind of an active and ongoing step. But values and your identity should be defined early on. It's something that you should grab a hold of well before you are in a position where you have to make decisions that are more complicated, because then you revert back to those. You look at the situation, you go, well, what is my identity rooted in? And what are my values? I've already defined them. Let me go back and look at what these are. And a lot of times that'll bring the clarity to you that you need to ask for the proper guidance and then make the decision.
Yeah.
But if you define those two, identity and your values, ahead of time and can go back to them on a regular basis and even just remember them, make them simple.
Yep.
They don't have to be some complicated 3-page document that you have somewhere hidden away and you go back and read. Make them simple. Just simply define, who am I and what are my values? And now I know those clearly. I can go and make some, rather complicated decisions very easily. It used to be, for me, I had a much harder time making decisions early on. I would, worry about, is this the right one? Is that the right one? What do I do? And now I've gotten to a point in my life where I can look at a decision and see a clear, defined yes and no. Like, we need to go this way. We don't want to go that way.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it takes time and practice, and you have to really understand who you are, what your goals are, what your values are. I understand that takes time, but you will be able to avoid some of those difficult, frustrating moments down the road if you clearly define your values and your identity very early on.
The word is alignment.
There you go.
It's alignment, right? If I'm looking at a decision and I go back to these three things and there's a breakage in the alignment. So there's emotions. Emotions are loud. They talk. And so when you're in a decision and you're kind of gauging whether or not it's the right one, how loud are your emotions? Listen to that. Don't ignore it.
Yeah.
Is it yelling? Is it going, well, you could, let's figure this, let's sort through this a little bit. Or is it quiet? Do you have peace? That a lot of times will really help make it easier. And it's exactly what you were saying. That's the resolve in the identity and who we are, our values. That decision's in front of us. If they align, there's no noise.
Yeah.
You're going to pursue it because you know. So alignment is the word there.
Yeah.
So let's get into the meat and potatoes here.
Yeah, I want to put some practical framework around how somebody can walk this out. That would be, I think, the most value that we could give our listeners is just how do you walk out decision making under pressure?
Yeah. Let's look at number one in regards to just pausing.
Yep.
And this is not one to just hear and breeze over. There is so much power in this, and it has to do really with how the mind actually works. So when I read some books even on just basic brain functionality, when a stimulus enters our eyes, our ears, whatever that is, it actually passes through our emotional brain first. There's an emotional part of the brain. And then it goes up after a little bit of time, and it goes up to the frontal cortex where there's logic and reasoning. That's where you think and you go, your emotions are kind of turned down now, and you're going, wait a minute. Let's think this through. So then we're by design that way. God gave that to us. So when you're in the woods and a bear comes out, you're not sitting there going, now what's the logical decision to handle this? It's like, no, I got to run or I'm going to die. So we have that in us innately from our design, and it's on purpose. However, how often are you in front of a bear and how often are you in a meeting room?
Yeah.
You don't have to scream at that coworker or make a scene or emotionally react to a situation because you have feelings. It's okay to have feelings. Maybe take 10 seconds, breathe, take a drink of water, and let that thought pass through the emotional mind and get up to where you're going to go, hold on a second. I don't like the way you said that. Here's why. It made me feel this. Let's talk about it. But stay calm, stay composed, and pause.
Yeah. It's kind of a way to gauge your emotions about a specific situation. I don't think it really takes more than just a few seconds. Some things require a little bit longer than that, but you can, like you were saying with your emotions in some situations are going to be much, much higher than in others. And you can gauge that if you'll just pause for a quick 10 seconds. Where am I at in this particular situation? Is it something that I feel like my emotions are extremely heightened? And then maybe it will allow those emotions to just come down a little bit so that you can make a more reasonable decision.
Yeah.
So definitely pause. Pause is number one. Number two is?
We got pray and reflect. So we've been kind of talking about this already, even in the episode, but it's just pausing and asking for guidance and reflecting. So that is both on yourself, the decision, and the circumstance around those who are in it and are going to be impacted by the decision. So it's just taking a minute, and like you had said before, make sure you go back to the basics, go back to reflect internally. Who am I? What do I stand for? Does this align with that? Ask for guidance. Another thing to think about here is a little bit is kind of detach from the emotions in the decision. So you have that opportunity, it's in front of you. You're excited. You're like, I want this thing, or this opportunity's here. Or maybe you're like, no, I'm absolutely not doing this. Well, hold on a second. Let's detach from like what is right in front of you because you're in it. Whenever you're in it, you're so close to it, it's difficult to see the big picture. So you got to step back. I've read Jocko Willink's got a book, Extreme Ownership, great book. Yeah. He talks a lot about being in the battle, being up front, being in it, and everything being intense. And you just like everything's happening right there in front of you. And he says you step back, you go big picture, and then you make a decision. And so he talks a lot about that, and I agree. It's like, how can you see the right decision if you're right in front of the thing? You're too close to it. You got to detach, step back, and go, oh, if I move this here, if I make this decision, it's actually going to be more beneficial here. Yeah. Having some vision.
It's interesting that you say that. I didn't even think about this when we were kind of doing some research and reading through some notes and stuff, but that's almost the point that the CEO of a company needs to put themselves in, and you are the CEO of your own company, even if that's just you or you and your family. And so if you run things from the perspective of, I need to get a 20,000 foot view of what's actually going on so that I can be the architect, so that I can be the person who's moving the pieces. It's much harder to do that when you're right in the mix of things, when you're facing something, it's right in front of you. But if you can take a step back and get that 20,000 foot view, it allows you the opportunity to go, this piece just needs to be moved over here. We don't want that piece in there. We can move this here, we can adjust here, and look at what's going to happen if we do just those few things. You can see that from a long ways away. And I think that's what prayer and reflection gives you the opportunity to do, is just to pause, pull yourself back from the immediate situation and see the big picture in front of you.
That's great. Yeah, I totally agree. It is. It's interesting to be in it as the operating the business and also step back from it and have to look at that vision. But yeah, everybody can apply that. To every decision. So making sure, and we kind of talked about this, some of this is really just going back to, this one is talking about prioritizing your values over your emotions.
So this one's number 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to be prioritizing your values in that decision. So it's coming back to, who are you? What's your identity? What are your values? And then making sure your decisions are aligned with the purpose. We've talked a lot about if you're in business or something, what is your purpose? What is the why behind it? So number 4, we're going to move on to just having wise counsel around you.
Yeah.
This is having good people. Faith encourages community. I think it's incredibly important to have community, to have people that you're surrounded with. And so it's to help build you up. And then wise voices can help you avoid blind spots.
There's so much value in this one. I mean, just an unbelievable amount of value. If you think you're going to do everything alone, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, good luck.
You need wise counsel around you.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about your buddy that you grew up with that you go to the bar and drink with occasionally. That's not wise counsel. That's a friend. That's fine. Whatever. I would encourage people to be very cautious about the circle that, as you grow and learn and improve your life and your skills and the direction that you're going, you want to surround yourself with people who are better than you.
Yeah.
So don't keep going back necessarily to the familiar, I guess, to the comfortable. You put yourself out there a little bit, find wise counsel, people who know things that you don't, who have done things that you haven't. That's really what we're getting at here, is seek out those people that you are confident can pour into you to help you make the better decision that you don't necessarily know how to do on your own.
So I got 4 things.
Okay.
I got 4 things. It's going to be really direct. I got 4 things.
Cool.
Pray.
Of course.
Before you go looking for counsel. You need to find good people. This is character, integrity, transparency. Number 3, you're going to have, you need to find people that are doing it better than you are.
100%.
You need to find people that are doing it better.
That should be your circle.
That's your smart. And then the last one is experienced. They need to be experienced in whatever it is you're doing, and they need to be more experienced than you at what you're doing.
Believe it or not, if you lean into those 4 things, by the time you get to experience, you are going to then become the person who's experienced to reach back and pull somebody else up.
It happens very quick.
Yeah.
It happens very quick.
Who's in the position that you were in not that long ago.
Because you're looking for character, you're looking for smarts, and you're looking for wisdom. Mm-hmm. And you have to go get those. You can have good people around you, but if they don't have any experience in the business you're in, they may not be the right counsel for that decision.
Similarly in family.
Yeah.
I mean, we are talking specifically about business in this situation, but along the same lines, family, you're going to run into situations that you don't know how to handle. Kids who are, derailed to some degree, a marriage that is struggling and you don't understand your partner. Get yourself around people who have done it for 20, 30, 50 years. Go talk to a grandparent that you know that's still married to the same person and ask them, how would you handle the situation that I'm in now? I guarantee that most grandparents would love to sit and chat with you about maybe some wisdom that they've gained over the years that would very possibly save your marriage.
No, that's good. Yeah, all aspects of life. You could follow that same thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good stuff.
I'm sorry I interrupted you right in the middle of your thought.
No, that was pretty much it. It was character, smarts, and wisdom. And I love that you mentioned family. marriage, because people are so quick to go to their friends for their relationship advice. Be happy. Do what makes you. It's like, that's crazy.
Just leave her.
On this, yeah.
How many times have we heard that one?
Oh my
It's
gosh,
like
too many. And that on the surface, it's like you go, oh, that makes sense, because all you're doing is you're in emotions, right?
Yeah.
Instead of going, wait a minute, this is a journey. There's got to be a way that God can do a work in this.
Yeah.
And so
there's
no,
another
that's
note
so good.
actually that when you just said that came to mind that we didn't hit on for number 3, and that is that emotions are real, but they're not always reliable. Your emotions are not necessarily the thing that you should make a decision based on.
Absolutely.
Almost never, really.
I'm glad you brought that one up. Yeah.
They're real. I mean, you can have those emotional feelings, but they're not always the reliable thing that you should base a decision on.
Yeah.
So
you can have feelings and not react to them. You know what I mean? Depending on the feeling. I'm glad you brought that one.
Yeah. So back to number 5, unless you have anything else for 4.
No, and then just act with confidence. I think this is important, that once you've kind of had that discernment, you've been given the direction, if you really find yourself, like we talked about earlier, in that calling, man, you want peace and joy in a decision and boldness. It comes when you recognize that this is something you were called to do, or the decision has been really guided by God in your heart, and you just have peace about it. Then you can move into it boldly. Even when those around you are going, I don't know if I would do that, or I don't know if you should do this one, you go, it's okay. I know, and I go boldly and confidently now into that decision, because God has put it on my heart that this is the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been several times, you're a little bit earlier on in your real estate journey than I am. And there have been several times when you have come to me and said, I don't know what to do about this. And I look at the situation, you give me A, B, and C as scenarios, and I'm like, B. I don't have to think about it at this point in my journey. I just know, like, of those, that's the one right there. And you're just kind of like, maybe this one or maybe that one. And, I don't say that to say that I know the thing. I'm just saying, like, putting yourself in a position where you surround yourself with good people who maybe have done and experienced some of those things. Couple that with the ability to take it to Christ and kind of understand the bigger picture, and then just move.
Yeah.
We talk about this so much on this podcast, and I can't drive it home enough that being stagnant will destroy you in every aspect. If you sit and do nothing, you're going to get that very thing, nothing. So be bold, take action, put these other steps in place, work through them, pause for a little bit, pray, reflect, get God's heart on the situation. Ultimately, we talk about this, it's a stewardship opportunity to begin with. It's His anyway. So you really want to gain Christ's heart on the matter, but He's put it in your heart for a reason. He's given you this path for a reason. He wants you to step through the door boldly. Yeah. Put the things in place, prioritize your values, get your emotions in check. They're not always the best, most reliable decision maker. Get counsel around you that can encourage you, try to guide your decisions, not guide them for you necessarily, but just encourage you, maybe point you in a different direction. Just kind of grab your shoulders and turn you and say, maybe that's the one. If you think about somebody behind you, almost like God, you have these 3 decisions in front of you, and it's like you're just kind of back and forth, and somebody just comes up behind you and grabs your shoulders and goes, B. Yeah. That's the one. You're like, oh, okay, let's go. Time to go. At that point, it's let's take action. Move boldly. That's the way I see it. So, real life scenarios.
When it comes to real life scenarios, business pressure comes. Sometimes the deal seems like it's going to be really challenging, and it's going to. The one I think of is when we went up 5 doors on a deal, but I was so early in my portfolio, we had to dip into the line of credit just to pay the mortgages that month that we bought that deal. Like, it wiped us and then some, and I still can't believe we did it. But with prayer and discernment and guidance, God's like, I've been providing to this point. The deal's in front of you. This one's going to make sense. And so I still had peace about it, and I did that, and it was a lot of pressure, a lot of uncertainty, went against everything in my typical thought process and my desire to control. But I still had peace about that. The pressure was on for sure because I don't recommend anybody do that, do that decision, but I did it. And it came with a lot of praying and reflecting and being like, okay, we're going to do this. And it did work out.
But just because the decision was right for you doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for everybody else.
Absolutely not.
But it could still be right for you. I mean, that very scenario you just said, I wouldn't necessarily recommend anyone else do that very thing, but it was the right thing for you. And now you look back.
I had faith in that season.
Yeah. And you were willing to move boldly because of it. Yeah.
It did something, went against the grain. So that might be an example for the business pressure decisions.
I kind of have one on the family side, and that is when my wife and I were kind of early on in our marriage. We moved to Arizona. We started a business out there. It went well for a while, then it fell apart. We lost pretty much everything through the process, and we were almost 6 years into our marriage, and we wanted to start having kids, settle down, figure out life, because we were just very active at that point. And so we had to make some hard decisions about what we wanted to do. We had a property out there that we owned that was upside down. This was 08, 09. And yeah, it really messed us up. We had to make some decisions about short selling that property. We sold it for like $60,000 less than we owed on it. Luckily, the bank agreed to it. We moved back to a small town from a big city. You think, big opportunity, big city, lots to do, and we can grow here and we can make it big. And it just wasn't the reality. We moved back into a garage in our hometown. Nothing to our name really at that point, and we just started building again. It was almost like we had to completely start over, but it was a series of hard decisions. We have to do this, and then we have to do this, and then we have to do this, and now it's grown into a wonderful life. I can't even imagine having it any other way now at this point, but looking back, I would have thought the same thing. There's absolutely no way that I'm ever going to get back to there. Mm-hmm. And the Lord has just made it come full circle for us. So it's just a series of being willing to step back, see the big picture, get some wise counsel, and then step through the door and start taking action, making decisions. Yeah. Makes a big difference.
When you have faith and see it happen and see it manifest, it builds perseverance, and perseverance keeps it going. Yeah. And it's incredible. So
I think that actually reminds me of the idea that it's okay to normalize mistakes, problems. You're going to make the wrong decision. Every one of us
I've done it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay. I guarantee you're not going to get to your deathbed and go, man, I had those two decisions and I made that wrong one. I wish I just would have sat there and not made any. No, you don't,
worse.
You can always step back and redo it. I've said that in my own life many times. What's going to happen if we lose everything? We're going to do it again. Yeah. We're going to figure it out. Yeah. We're going to keep moving forward. That's what we do. So normalizing the mistake is it makes it easier to cope with and sort of swallow.
Make it okay to do it wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay to do it wrong. You're going to have faith in that regard with mistakes. It offers grace, course correction, and growth. So grace is you did it, maybe it didn't work out, it's going to be okay. Course correction, that's where the mistake is happening or has happened, and it's causing course correction. And then at the end, you've got growth, which is opportunity. I think every mistake, while it offers some consequence on the negative side, each mistake offers equal opportunity. So you're going to have an opportunity to grow, to learn, and the magnitude varies. The bigger mistake you make, the bigger lesson you're going to learn, right? Yeah. And then the smaller mistake you make, the smaller lesson you're going to learn.
Yeah. I think ultimately, though, if you just don't quit, if you just keep moving forward, you're going to be able to pull yourself out of whatever mistake you made. If you recognize it as a mistake, recognize some opportunity that you can grow in and learn from and move out of into something more positive, and then make those steps towards it. Even if you make massive decisions that turn out to be very negative, that hurt your bottom line or your situation, every situation is going to be a little bit different. But if you're able to kind of roll with those bad decisions and turn them into a new decision in a different direction, eventually you learn to dig your way out of problems. And so it's not such a catastrophic failure if you can look at it from that perspective, where it's not a big deal. Like, we can figure this out. We're
Yeah.
going to make it work. So what are some daily habits that we can practice to help to kind of strengthen our faith so that we're able to put into practice these 5 different practical framework decisions?
Yeah, so I think you're looking at just creating new habits. We've talked a lot so far. Morning reflection and prayer. I usually get up. I'll do a really small devotional, something easy, just to recenter myself, a quick prayer, and then I start my day. So I think having a morning of reflection and prayer puts God first. If you wake up and start with God, you're going to end with God, and that He's going to be in the day. And I want to make sure that I'm doing that. This one I like a lot, journaling decisions and outcomes. Feedback. I love feedback. It's important. I want to make sure I'm critiquing myself, my wins, my losses, what I did and what I would do differently. So I really find a lot of value in journaling decisions and outcomes. Staying connected to community. Keep talking to people around you. Jake, you've given that example. You've been that for me. Even you and I will just sit down. If I've got a deal that maybe is coming up, I'm going to sit down and just pick your brain for a minute.
Of course.
Hey, man, peek at these numbers. Because I may have an idea, but if you sit down and you go, absolutely, it's affirming. I now got more experience sitting down and going, yes, I would concur with that. Or, no, that's crazy. You need to do this one. So making sure you stay connected to that community that you have around you. And man, I love this one is pivotal.
Probably the most important.
It's everything. Your attitude is everything.
Having an attitude of gratitude.
All the time.
Yeah.
Every day, all the time. I don't care what you're in, if it's good, if it's bad, if you're winning, if you're losing. Thank God for what it is that you have, because it comes from Him. It belongs to Him. So just being thankful in all things.
Yeah.
It makes the wins so much better than they would have been if you had the dissatisfied taste of entitlement all the time, where you're like, oh, I finally got that thing. Instead, it's like, I can't believe I struggle sometimes with having nice things, because I don't feel like I deserve it, because I'm so thankful for all I already have. That's a really good place to be. It's just having that attitude of gratitude.
Yeah. If you are always looking at things from a grateful perspective, man, it's really hard to struggle through life. It almost doesn't even exist, that struggle, because you don't even see it. You're constantly looking at things from a grateful mind, a grateful eye.
It's a perspective of abundance instead of lack.
Yeah.
It's in Scripture. Even when Adam and Eve were in the garden, and God never said anything about everything. He's like, don't eat from that one tree. Right. Well, that garden had a ton of trees in it, and there was abundance, but they were so focused on the lack that they went after the one thing that they weren't ever supposed to have. So they didn't have that. Well, that's okay. That gratitude, because there was an abundance. So we have to maintain that perspective.
Yeah. A couple of things to kind of close with. I think we need to understand that pressure is inevitable. We are going to come up against situations that create pressure in our own mind and through our own emotions. Understand that pressure is able to be offset through faith if you learn to practice some of the tactics that we've talked about here today. Faith will provide clarity. It'll give you peace, ultimately a clear direction if you lean into it. I wanted to read a scripture here to kind of close this podcast out. It comes from Hebrews 11, which is the faith chapter. And it's verse 6, and it says, "And without faith it is impossible to please Him. For whoever would draw near to God must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who seek Him." I think that very last part is the part that stuck out to me, in that the Lord rewards those that seek Him. So if your desire in your marriage, with your family, to see your kids grow and learn, in your business, if your desire is to seek Him and your pursuit is that, regardless of the desire that the Lord has given you to build a business or to be an entrepreneur or to be a stay-at-home parent or whatever that thing is that God's put on your heart, if your intention is to seek Him in everything that you do, you're going to have a pretty wonderful life.
Yeah.
Even if it's hard, and it very well may be. Paul's life in the Bible was extremely hard.
Yeah.
and he lived in a place of gratitude, seeking the Lord in everything he did. And I mean, wow, he's probably one of the most well-known pastors, I guess you could call him, ministers in history, and he accomplished so much, which I think all of our listeners can do too if they lean into faith and not allowing their emotions to overcome them, but to make decisions through faith. So I hope that this was encouraging, and we look forward to bringing you more episodes. Lean into some of this information. Hopefully you can gather something from it. Go find us on our social platforms. We love to chat with you. You can drop a question or a comment on maybe a situation that you've dealt with, that you've used faith to help make a decision, and how you have used this practical framework for some of your decision making. Hopefully this helped you guys. We look forward to bringing you another one. We love you. We'll see you on the next one.